Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and your social media marketing and help you stay social. So after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And I'm so stoked to have a special guest with me today, Jesse. Welcome, Jesse.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Lorraine. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. And tell my audience a little bit about what you do and who you serve.
Yeah. So I serve a lot of entrepreneurs that are making the six-figure, trying to help scale their business to seven-figure without the neglection of family time. That is huge, right? So I have a young family, and I found myself early on in my entrepreneurial journey neglecting a lot of family time and missing out on a lot of opportunities because I also wanted to have money, right, to go enjoy the time. So help entrepreneurs do that and scale their business from 6 to 7 to 8 figures. And it's a lot of fun.
So that's his first one that said from 7 figures to 8 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures. How does one do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the things that we talk about here on our coaching program is the unconscious blockages in our minds or the automations or systems that we're running. And so a lot of us are running a system and we consistently hit the same number every single year and it becomes easy. Like, oh yeah, for an example, my first 2 years of an entrepreneur, I hit $215,000 straight, like on the dot. It was crazy, right? And then going over to, all right, how do I scale this and actually grow it? It started to change the dichotomies and the ideas in my mind to scaling it to $500,000. And then as I went to $500,000, it was like, all right, now I've even got to push more to figure out how to let go of some of these unconscious beliefs. I got to work harder to make more money. That belief was a big one for me. And then also can I trust anyone to hire and take over my systems and processes? So things like that, where a lot of it is just an unconscious game and things that we've experienced from the ages of 5 to 9 years old that we just have kind of adapted, and it's become a hybrid of our emotions and our reactions, and it has an effect in our business. It really does. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that, big word you said there that like I hear everybody always talking about, oh, I have to scale, I have to scale, I have to scale. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming, that to scale, you have to have some pretty good habits in place to scale. So what would you say maybe are the top 3 habits that you should have when you're scaling?
Yeah, I would say number 1 is, do you really have to scale? Is that what you really want to do? Or are you just saying that because that's a buzzword that everyone's saying, right? So I would say number 1, getting in tune with what truly you desire, right? Do you desire to have the $10 million company, or are you fine making the money you're making right now and living this way, right? And then from there, from scaling, I would say get familiar with the things that you're really good at, what's working, and understand. I see a lot of entrepreneurs come through, and unfortunately, they have a shotgun approach. I have web leads, I have, mailers, I've got, pay-per-click on Google, whatever it is that they're operating, it's just scattered. And it's like, well, you only need one good, solid system to scale to your first million. So let's eliminate all the fluff and go double down on the thing that's actually working, right? I love to tell my entrepreneurs, business is meant to be boring, right? It's not supposed to be like 30 different platforms on how to expose your market and get your name out there. It's one good one that's scaling you the money, and then you move to the next and master the next one. And so that's my number 2. And then of course, number 3 would be, you've got to allow your emotions to, like, you've got to harness your emotions, because emotions cause commotion. And so you've got to learn how to mentally go in and eliminate these emotions that are keeping you from feeling like you can't do it.
Yeah, those 3 things are so important. Earlier, just a minute ago, you had mentioned, about what you do to serve people. And you mentioned, that a lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, we work so hard sometimes that we miss all the fun events and the family events. I was one of those people. I was lucky enough that I worked in a job and then I took some time off to stay home with my kids. So I was really kind of lucky in that sense and blessed. I feel like I was really blessed. But how do you help someone who, they want more time with their family, but then this comes up and it's, one opportunity after another, and it's hard to say no. And, that one lunch meeting that can turn into, a $10,000 deal, or that other lunch meeting that can turn into 100,000, or this one networking event, that one person maybe, that they're always doing. I mean, I know this financial advisor that he networks like crazy. I don't know when he spends any time with his family. And, how do you get that? I guess it would be life work balance. How is that achieved?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, I'm going to speak from my perspective and from the perspective of clients, because it'd be really arrogant of me to sit up here and say, this is the one way, right? Like, I'm not going to do that. But what I have found is, yes, there are multiple different ways to generate another deal or another business, but then also considering the life of abundance that we live in, right? And if we have our system in place and we can scale it and know the numbers behind our business, then we know that it's okay to miss out on this networking because we don't have the data. The realization is in the data. And so if we go through and you do marketing, so if it's Facebook leads and you're making $100 for every Facebook lead that comes in, which would be awesome, right? But this is just an example. But if you're making $100 for every Facebook lead that converts, then that if you need more money, you just double down on your system and your process until it gets to a certain threshold, and that's when things start to change a bit. But too many people are emphasizing the shiny object syndrome of, oh, you got to go do this, you got to do that. And there's this imbalance of, oh, I've got to do all these things, I've got to work all these hours in order to make the money, when realistically it just comes back to the simplification of what's your product, what's your offering, how are you making the most money based off of what you're currently doing right now. Let's eliminate all the other stuff and go over and focus on this one thing and really make it into a machine, because a business should be a living organism, right? In tax theory, they say that is a living entity. And so shouldn't our business be living and producing itself like our own bodies do? That's my mindset behind it.
No, absolutely. I think it's so important that, we take you said something interesting in the business world is, taking a look at, what system is working that's going to make, that is working, and that you don't have to have any other system and you don't have to keep on reinventing the wheel. I think that's really important. Really quick question is, there's tons of coaches out there. There's, productivity coaches. There's, people that will help you save time, people that will, help you with your health, people that will help you achieve high performance. What separates you from other coaches? Is there something unique that separates you from, somebody that's just sort of like you and doing the same thing?
I mean, I'd like to say that the results that we have of those that have come through the program, should be enough talking of what separates. And, we've seen amazing things that have happened. We've seen one guy comes in, he's the heaviest he's ever been in his life, and he really finds value in his fitness, right? And so his whole mindset changes, and he goes in, starts his fitness, and then goes, you know what? I love this so much, I'm going to create a company out of it. And then 3 weeks later, he's quitting his job, and his business is scaling. We also have the other guy that's like, I have been here for 4 years in this same mindset and have not been able to unlock it. And finally, 3 weeks into the program, he's like, I unlocked what I needed and I figured out exactly what I need to do next. He went and did it. And, boom, all of a sudden he's seeing massive growth in his business. And so we take a holistic approach. In essence, we go and attack the mind. And because the mind's the most telling thing, one of my friends, mentors, he says that your mind's a quantum supercomputer. And it truly is, right? So are we running an old program? Like, let's say, are we running Windows 98 on our quantum supercomputer? And some of us may have to admit that and say, yeah, I am. But the good news is we can uninstall that program and install the newest, latest one and really go into full-fledged detail on how to maximize that.
As long as your brain computer doesn't crash.
Exactly, right. But there's things behind that too. Is like, if someone is crashing, what's causing that crash? is it this hero's journey mindset that they live, where it's like, I have to go through all this pain by myself and do all these things, and I'm going to sacrifice all the things that are important to me in order to eventually get to the top of where I'm going? Well, do you have to live that mindset, right? Do you have to have that idea that it is a hero's journey, or could it be just a journey and you can do it with your friends, your family, everyone around you, and there's no ups and downs. It's just what it is, you know?
I love that. It's like, I always thought, is that doing anything that you're passionate about does take a certain amount of sacrifice. I think we all kind of think that, and sometimes we're not willing to make the sacrifices, but you kind of switch that around a little bit. You mentioned a lot of, again, I'm going to go back to the family again, is that, to make seven figures, you got to be doing something right. And you got to be working hard. There's a lot of things that have to be in place. Question is that, how does one, when they get to seven figures, maintain the seven figures and at the same time maximize their time? Because I think that's like a really important key to make to six figures. I think that your time has to be so maximized, and at the same time spend time with your family or doing all the things that you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share from my personal experience. When I hit that mark, it was like, okay, I can now go and do anything. I became this Midas touch, in essence, of business. So I started opening up all these other businesses, which really went against what I was doing. This was several years ago. And I found myself now all of a sudden like separated between 7 different LLCs. And it was like, holy smokes. Like I went from one that was functioning, thriving, to now it was just a pride thing almost, of like, I can do this with anything. I can create a car detailing company, a podcast company. I could create anything. And have the quote unquote system. But what I didn't realize at that time was that this was just an arrogant way of me like stroking an ego, of trying to go out and do all these other things just because I could, when realistically I was looking at it going, I could go and change this up. I could go raise my prices, create more money. I could go in and join different social network groups with this money I now have, which then gets me into higher class networks that will pay for my services at an even higher price. And so as I started looking at those things and balancing the two, it's like, well, I'm spending all this money in this new startup realm when I could just be growing over here. I mean, I didn't know this, but if you spend over $1 million with Lamborghini or Ferrari, you get into a special club. And it's like, well, gosh, I would rather be driving an awesome car and then being a part of this super awesome club where all these people network and know each other, because they'll probably buy my product. And so why am I wasting my time over here trying to start up this new car detailing company when I could just go over here and do something more fun?
Yeah. And you say you've worked with a lot of different clients, all different kinds. What do you think is the number one thing that blocks them from success?
Yeah, I think that it's their past trauma, things that they've experienced in their life. And it could be something as simple as a grandparent or loved one, whatever, just saying you can't have everything you want in a heightened emotional state as a child. And then they subconsciously take on to that and hold on to that. I can't have everything I want. Or they have these complex equivalents. If I do this, then this. And they think very linear instead of circular, as opposed to, well, can I have this awesome car? And can I have my family and relationships that I still want? Or, where most people are like, I can't have the car and all this money and still be a good mom or dad. There's a dichotomy there that somewhere deep down inside they were instilled in that idea. And so allowing people to overcome that is what we truly focus on, so that they can experience the great joys of, who they truly are inside, and then also what they truly want on the external. They can have both.
Absolutely. I'm going to switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
And so, everybody looks at the glamour of being in business for themselves. It's like when you tell a group of people, oh, I own my own digital marketing agency, or I own my own coaching business. At first it's like a real big wow. Wow, that's like really awesome. What do you enjoy most about what you do and who you serve?
I honestly I've always been a server. Going back to who I was as a kid, I grew up in a situation where my mom and dad separated. And so at the age of 12 years old, I assumed the role of dad to my brother and sister. And I loved seeing them grow and seeing the service and everything associated with it. I never planned to be in this career, but as I went through a lot of trainings to focus on myself, I was sitting in a conference and this overwhelming feeling was like, you need to do this. You need to help other people. And so for me, it stems down to the unconscious habits of just serving other people and seeing other people succeed in life. That's where I find the most joy. It's not about the money. It's not about all these other things. It comes back down to, if I can take one entrepreneur from a 6-figure job to a 7-figure job and figure out how to receive everything they want and allow themselves to win, I'm the happiest person I could be at that point, because that's what life should be, is enjoying your money, your success, and your family. Like, it should be that trifecta for sure.
Absolutely. I think when it all comes down to the end is, I don't know if you've ever been to many funeral services, and I always like to listen to what everybody's saying about that person. And there's so many people that said, oh, he works so hard. And then you find, like, oh, he works so hard, and that's what they're known for, or she works so hard. And you don't have those memories of, my mom was always at every one of my baseball games, or my mom, I love hearing the happy stories about that. But the working hard piece is always hard. I have my audience is of different people. Some are like startups, some are, fully grown businesses that are doing really well. Some corporate people that have been successful in business that literally, are already at scale position now. And then, of course, we got some people who are listening that are toying with the idea of maybe going into business themselves. If there was one piece of advice that you could give, what would that be?
Take what's in your brain and write it down. Number one, your brain provides a thought, but it actually becomes a blueprint when you start writing it down. And so,
seems like it's almost like Chat GPT now.
Exactly. You could go to Chat GPT, but write it down, because your mind, like, going deeper into the mind, your mind is linked in ancient historic times to deity. It's linked to the universe. It's linked to everything around you. Like, if you literally sit and think that someone should call you, maybe they'll call you, right? We're all linked and connected in a different way. And so your mind's providing you ideas or revelation, if you're religious, whatever you want to call it, on what you need to do. But it's now up to you to take that thought from mind to paper and start designing it. And you'd be surprised at some of the amazing things that could happen by sitting there and just writing it down.
Absolutely. Well, this has been really fun. I like to make my podcasts short, and you had a lot of different golden nuggets that for my audience, and I just really love that. If somebody resonated with you today, is there something that you'd like to share, or how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can visit me at my website at theemergecoaching.com. There is a 5-day challenge with a special gift at the end that's absolutely free to the listener. And so I'd invite you to come and check it out. It's awesome.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today. And to everyone out there, have a really great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.